Welcome to the Her Story Circle podcast, the podcast that brings you the extraordinary tales of everyday women who are changing the world. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Every week, we dive into the lives, challenges, and triumphs of women from all four corners of the globe. We're here to inspire, enlighten, and connect, sharing stories that uplift and empower. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us as we explore the incredible journeys of women shaping our future. This is Her Story, where every woman's voice matters. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Diversity Connector. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating young woman. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, and share your story with us today.
Thank you so much, Gertrude, for the introduction. My name is Krystele. I am based in Montreal, Quebec, in Canada. I'm originally from the Ivory Coast and also from Quebec. So my father is from the Ivory Coast, from a region called Gueyaud, and my mother is from Quebec. I specialize in fashion design. I've been in the field for the last, I would say almost close to 10 years. Almost, it will be 10 years in about a year that I've been in fashion design. And truthfully, I didn't study in fashion design either. So it's something that kind of came to be because I needed I needed an outlet for my creativity. So I did my studies in communications. I then worked in advertising. I specialized in digital marketing for the last 23 years. It's still something that I do on the side, and it's also a way for me to finance my business. It's also a way for me to keep a network and a lot of hands and collaborators involved in my business as well, which helps me grow. So the business started really back in 2016 because my son of 14 years at that time wanted to attend a wedding and wanted to wear a bow tie. He had a new trend, which was to wear bow ties, and we went shopping. We couldn't find anything that was really in his taste. So we went in our basement and we pulled all the kentes that we had. My parents over the years had collected about 40 to 50 different types of fabrics that they had received upon their travels throughout Western and Eastern Africa. Both my parents were involved in international development for about 25 years. So we are children of that world where we were blessed to travel very often and to be exposed to different cultures for a prolonged amount of time, which allowed us to really infuse ourselves with the traditions and the different aspects of those ethnic backgrounds and of those societies. So in essence, he wanted to wear a bow tie, very simple, to this wedding. I created the one bow tie off of YouTube. Like I said, I didn't study in fashion design, so I really crafted based on what I could see in front of me. And it was a very basic item that was kind of glued together, but it worked for the day. We went to this wedding and a lot of my friends were present and they all wanted one. So we came back home and we pulled the rest of the fabric that we had. We actually figured out how to sew them. My mother knows how to sew, not by practice either, but simply by pass me down knowledge. Like it turns out that my great grandfather was the village tailor. Therefore, all of his daughters were his employees and were sewing with him, and they therefore taught all of their daughters to sew. And my mother was one of those. So therefore, we figured out our little pattern on how to make bow ties, and we created our very first 100 bow ties, and we're able to sell them within our private network. Took us about another year to perfect branding, packaging, positioning, how we were going to even think about selling the bow ties, who would be interested, how we were sourcing the fabric, etc. By the time we figured all of that out, it was 2017. I was in France. I went to Togo. I went to the Ivory Coast, and I went to Benin. I explored a few different partnerships to establish this route for the fabric. I was able to really develop a very good partnership with a very good shipper, which now allows me to obtain my fabric at a high volume, door to door within 5 days, which really solved a lot of our problems and allowed us to also have something that could be competitive on the market, or else we were stuck making unique pieces that we needed to sell at an extreme cost in order for it to make sense and for it to be viable. And slowly but surely, we did our first Christmas market with the bow ties. That was our real first introduction to the market. We learned how to mass produce. We turned the entire home into a production studio. All of my friends, my mother's friends, my sister's friends, my brother's friends, and the entire family was involved. We produced about 750 bow ties in the span of 20 days. We figured out how to make packaging at a high volume as well. We decorated our entire hut for the first time. We figured out a sales pitch, and we went out there in the cold at -20 and managed to sell 500 bow ties in 16 days. And they were going for $50 a pop. So it was a very nice introduction to market for us, and a good test of the market for us, that we could confirm that there was actually a demand for the product that we wanted to make. We then spent a couple of years creating a variety of accessories, just really testing market, doing different fairs, until the pandemic hit, at which point we also were one of the first companies to sell masks, and we were very lucky and were able to sell 10,000 in a very short amount of time. That allowed us to expand a little bit as well the workshop that we had, and to dive into clothing. So that's been our adventure since 2022. We've been very focused on developing a new clothing line for Cricou, and moving ourselves a bit away from accessories. It's been quite a beautiful adventure. We have received a very positive feedback. We've been blessed to be able to participate in Paris Fashion Week. We've been able to participate in the Montreal Mode and Design fashion shows for the last 2 years, which is our big festivals that have about 500,000 members that attend, or attendees rather, to the various fashion shows. So it's a very good opportunities for us to showcase what we do and how we do it. And really, the essence of our brand is to marry Afro prints with a variety of other types of fabrics, whether it be denim, whether it be high quality silk, or leather, or vinyl, or anything, just to really make it something that's versatile, that can be worn in any environment, really, in any kind of setting, and that becomes less of an African's fabric and more of a magnificent print that is just truly art and speaks of a great history. And it's really very good quality cotton at the end of the day that seems to last far longer than most of the other stuff that we use. So it's also something we want to push forward, and that really defines our brand as well. Another aspect of the brand is that it is a family business, and we really prioritize artisanal creations more than mass production. We're slowly looking at diversifying a little bit, clearly, because we want to increase the profitability of the company. But our couture items will remain handmade, and will remain items that are unique pieces and that can only be custom ordered. But we are finally looking at developing a ready-to-wear collection that will be a lot easier to manufacture, but that will still be crafted singularly and uniquely with the same essence of our brand. We try to work with the community as much as possible, try to promote women as well in all of the events and in all the activities that our company does. I really, I'm in favor of working with retired women as well, simply because in my experience and in the last 10 years that I've been in this field, they usually have the most connaissance and just natural expertise of the craft, and it comes to them very easily, and it's just something that's beautiful to watch. And it's not done in haste. It's really done for the quality of the work. So it allows me to truly learn the art of it rather than the result of it, which is something I really enjoy.
What an amazing story. Wow.
Thank you.
This is so inspiring to just see and hear how you started and where you're at now and how the whole story evolved. You know, sometimes a business can be formed out of need or necessity. And the need was really for you to create something for your son so that he could go to this wedding and have something completely unique.
Yep.
So it's really beautiful to hear how the brand came to life. Now, let's talk a little bit about you and how you incorporate the principles of diversity and inclusion into the design and creation process of your handmade luxury accessories and apparel. I know you're sourcing your fabric from different African countries. Let's talk a little bit about that and the uniqueness of each country and what you get. Because a lot of people think Africa is a country, but we have 52 countries with very different designs and motifs. Talk to me
Absolutely.
about that.
I get most of my printed wax from Benin, simply because they seem, I think, because their port is so active, they get an influx of imports of the fabric. So the quantity is actually is quite available, is readily available, and it's easy for me to get the shipment back. For the hand woven kentes, I tend to go to the Ivory Coast. I think it's more of a personal, sensitive value more than anything else, simply because it's where I'm from and because I find them beautiful and I like to promote them. I think to be honest, I have a tendency to send people to the market and tell them to take what they like.
Okay.
So what will happen is I get a variety of prints that are simply unique that I would have never chosen myself.
Right.
But that's where the creativity really starts.
Yes.
So it infuses, and I tend to stay away from the significance of the print and the colors of the print, simply because from what we've understood, a lot of the designs are sent to each country at the onset of the collection. Yes. Each country has their key colors that they will print in, because those are the ones that are more favored by the community or the buyers within that region. Okay. But in essence, the collections are predetermined in advance, sent out to the different countries. They pick their colors and they reprint them based on the volumes. And then they're shipped to each country, which is why often you'll find the same print in a variety of colors, and you won't necessarily find it in the same region.
Right.
So this has happened, and I've seen this happen where I've sent 3 different people in 3 different countries to buy fabric, and they came with the same fabric but in just different colors.
Okay. Oh, how fascinating. That is just awesome.
I've also tended to stay away from the meaning of the prints because they vary per country.
Right.
And they'll also vary per buyer.
Okay.
So it's not because I actually bought it in the Ivory Coast that the meaning of the bird flying into the cage is the same for the Cameroon woman that will buy the print.
Wow.
So those prints usually have a very local, very profound meaning that I tend to stay away from generalizing, because I don't want to marginalize them and I don't want to generalize them. They're usually tied to a specific event or a specific ethnic tradition or
Right.
even background that may be very local and very not. And it's
Okay.
not that I don't know what they mean. It's really that I like a lot, because I've been in this situation where a lot of people are like, okay, but the bird means when I wear this bird, it means that I've cheated on my husband, or I know that my husband is cheating on me and giving him a message. And I'm like, no. It may have meant that at some point, but
Yes,
today it no longer means that. Today it's a beautiful fabric. It's really how you need to look at it,
I
and let it
love.
express what it expresses to you in this piece of elements.
Oh, wow. So, can you share how Cricou serves as a platform for celebrating and promoting African culture and heritage through fashion?
I think we do that a lot through our fashion shows,
Yes.
mainly by ensuring that we promote as much as possible Afro-American women as models, that we use as models, as well as men. Our crew usually tends to be part of the community as well. Every single time we try to promote um, makeup artists and hair artists from our community.
Okay.
When I think I may be a bit biased, but every fashion show I've done thus far has an element of some sort of my country or not. One of our shows had stilt walkers, tam tam players, djembes on site, fire spitters. We had kizomba as well. We embody it's hard for me to just showcase the clothing without showcasing the culture behind it, I guess.
Yes.
The music that we use will always be also tied to Afro rhythms or the current Naija trends, just to make sure that we have a little pull back towards that element, considering that we are in a Montreal, Quebec environment. Yes, we do have a diaspora, but I wouldn't say that my main public is the diaspora. I would say that it's outside of the diaspora, and it's bringing in the diaspora as it learns about what we showcase in our culture and the pieces that we promote. The cuts of our items is not traditional. We don't. I find that the designers that create or that modernize traditional African clothing do it very, very well. I would rather promote them. It's usually what I tend to do is when I have orders, I'll work with designers from Benin and the Ivory Coast to help promote what they're doing here.
Right.
I tend to pick classic cuts from couture designers and remix them with Afro prints.
Nice.
Really to showcase the versatility of what the Afro prints can do and how beautiful they can be.
I love that. So, what are some of the most significant challenges that you faced in incorporating diverse African textiles and designs into luxury fashion, and how have you overcome them?
I would say one of our main challenges is overcoming the aspect of this being some form of cultural appropriation.
Right.
I don't think we've overcome it yet. It's one of the missions of my brand. Really, this is what I mean when I say that I'd like for the print to be considered a print and a really
Right.
just beautiful fabric that anybody and everybody can wear.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's one of our biggest challenges in being able to mass market what we do and to make it as appealing to everybody as possible. Secondly, I think that a lot of the trend right now falls into stretch wear, and
Okay.
there's a little bit less with the fabric that we use. And combining cotton and stretch is often quite challenging,
Mm,
just because of the making and the structure of the fabric itself.
right.
But it's something we're working on and something we're slowly actually overcoming with time by working with different types of fabrics and by just learning to use it in a more creative way.
Right. Oh, this is fascinating. So, with your extensive experience in digital marketing, how do you leverage online platforms to promote diversity and inclusion within the fashion industry?
I would say that we It is definitely in the content and the visuals that we use, where we ensure to keep a tone that is inclusive and that is always diversified. It is never exclusive, let's say. So rather than having only one type of ethnic or of representation on my visuals, I'll tend to have them all, really to showcase that the brand is available and made for all. The tone of also of our messaging will be the same.
That's an excellent strategy. Wow. Now, can you discuss any collaborations that you've undertaken with other designers or brands to further the cause of diversity and representation in fashion?
I think one of our most recent collaborations was with the OFC, which is a nonprofit organization here in Montreal that's called One Full Circle, and it's really a nonprofit organization that regroups about 16,000 entrepreneurs and directors within the Montreal area that kind of all work to serve the community. So we partnered together to create an event that was actually a fundraiser for mental health. The fundraiser had an element in it where we had a panel where we really discussed the challenges of mental health within the community right now and the services that we want to put together, as well as the services that need to be available to people. And then it was followed by a fashion show where we regrouped 3 different brands that were really focused on the Afro prints. A lot of the evening also included, even throughout the panel, there was discussions on how to use the Afro prints for art therapy and various elements to that nature. And it was a really successful event, which allowed us to kind of touch a lot of the community and showcase the benefits of the brand and the profits that it can bring to the community as well.
Fantastic. A lot of times people struggle when they are out of Africa to hold true to who they used to be. How do you think fashion can actually help you find your way back to who you used to be when you are out of Africa?
I definitely think that fashion in and of itself is a representation of who you are, but it's not exclusive. So it's also necessary for you to be aware of who you are and who you want to be for that to be representative at the same time. So in a way, yes, when you found that person and you've healed and you're in that place where it's important for you to showcase who you are and you are at peace with who you are. Therefore, it's okay for you to showcase it no matter where you are. Then yes, fashion becomes the most magnificent outlet to do so.
Yeah.
And it's not about having one piece from this designer or another. It's having the variety of pieces necessary to showcase how you feel and what you feel that day and what you want to boast about your personality.
Mm-hmm.
And that just it needs a lot because we're comprised of a lot of things.
Yeah.
But I really do think that when that struggle is present, fashion can maybe be an outlet to help mend that journey and help begin that journey. But it's definitely deeper than that.
Because it's interesting when you talked about your son at the age of 14 wanting to wear something different for this wedding, and then the choice that you ended up making to make a traditional print bow tie. A lot of times when we're bringing up children in the diaspora, it's easy for them to forget their roots, where they're from and what that all means. And I think clothing is a really nice way to remind them of who we are.
And see, while I 100% agree, one detail that I did not share is my son is my godson. He's actually adopted and he's Jamaican. And we took him in. He moved in with me when he was 10 years old.
Okay.
So I think it was him more appropriating my culture or my background and sort of learning to share in that background.
I love that. And I mean, he's
right?
African.
So,
Jamaicans are from Africa. So That's a perfect match.
But like hearing you say that even made me realize this actually.
Mm, that is
So
just beautiful that this young boy has got an opportunity to find his roots in a sense through you.
exactly, in a different way that we didn't even intend.
Yes,
Yeah, I find that's
yes.
very interesting as well.
Okay. So, in what ways do you believe your brand can focus on diversity and African heritage has influenced consumer perceptions of luxury fashion?
I think that thus far, at the very least, the market and the buyers that we have had the pleasure to call our clients have no hesitance in paying the asking price that we list, simply because they recognize the quality and the artistry of the work. Simply because they get to meet us, they get to see my mother, who's 77, with her needle, and she's coming, and she wants to make sure that it fits perfectly. And so I think it's part of the entire service.
Yes.
There's also, I would say, a small trend where people want to go back to getting custom made items rather than the mass purchasing that everybody has. So I think it becomes a bit more conscious as well. And they're also part of the process with us. It takes, between 15 to 30 days to get the outfit. So it's not something that you can just do on an impulse either.
Right. Yeah.
And there's a quite of commitment. They have to come in, for a fitting, then they have to come in for a second fitting, then the third fitting.
Hmm. So, what are your aspirations for the future of diversity in the fashion industry? And how do you plan to contribute to this vision through your work?
So the long-term plan for the business is really we need to depict the quality of our craftsmanship and of what we can do from a production standpoint on the market, on the Canadian market.
Mhm.
I wouldn't say that my main objective is to make a bazillion sales. It's to make enough sales to get noticed, simply for the quality of the work, because the goal, in my opinion, or it has always been since I started the business, is to go back and open manufacturers in my father's village in the Ivory Coast.
Okay.
So through this initiative, I want to pave roads in the village. I want to add electricity. I want to create jobs for young girls. They'll be able to sew in this manufacturer. We'll be able to create training programs that allow them to learn, that allow them to stay on site, that allow us to create a small economy within the region, and then create multiple manufacturers within West Africa. And the idea would be to leave with my orders, so the sales from my company that are necessary, I would go start manufacturing them there. And then in so doing, I would inspire other brands here who have seen my success and who want to leverage the quality of craftsmanship that we have and are ready to work with me rather than China or any other place.
I love it. Going to create a lot of employment on the continent, which is just what's needed at the moment.
I come from the world of international development.
Yes. So, my last question for you takes us into the future a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you give aspiring fashion designers and entrepreneurs who want to make diversity a cornerstone of their brand and business model?
So my number one advice to every entrepreneur, regardless of what we want to do, is to partner up with an accountant from day one. I made that mistake. It took too long.
Okay,
It's great.
okay.
It's one of the greatest things one will ever do, and to really listen to their counsel because it's important.
Yeah.
From a diversity standpoint, I would say, the more we learn to collaborate with others, the stronger we are. The more collectively we grow as well, and the
Yeah.
more we can open doors for each other's. And it's important to really, I would say, help each other rather than compete.
Right.
Fine, we have a tendency to want to compete first, to be the number one and to take the market share. But really, if we all take a little piece together, we are so much stronger on the economy and on a larger scale.
I love that. Yeah, there is enough to go around. A lot of times we're so
Absolutely.
busy competing and pulling each other down, yet collaboration is the key. There is enough to go around. I love that attitude.
And, everyone deserves the same amount of respect.
Yeah.
No matter their makings or experience, everybody has something they can contribute. It's just a matter of figuring out what that is.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you could go back to your younger self and give yourself, no, sorry, let me take you into the future. If I could teleport you into the future to meet the 80-year-old you, and you're sitting in your rocking chair surrounded by your children and your grandchildren, if I could teleport you there right now to have a conversation with that wise woman who's led you to that point, what would you say to her when you finally meet her? Are you still what?
As tired? Did you finally get to chill? Did we make it? No. Okay. I'll keep working harder then.
Oh, that's funny.
Really,
The
that's
reason
funny.
why I like to ask women that question is that a lot of times we forget that the wise woman is already in us. She's already working through us. She's that little whisper who tells you, who gives you the inspiration to start a business. But we second guess ourselves a lot of the time. So if you hear that whisper, ladies, you need to take up the challenge, step into the space that you're being inspired to go, and she will guide you there.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So thank you so much for coming online and sharing your story with us today. It's an absolute pleasure to see what you're doing there in Canada, celebrating our African heritage.
Thank you.
And thank you to everybody who's tuned in today. The Her Story Circle is bringing you voices and stories from women from all over the world to uplift, inspire, and energize you. So tune in again tomorrow when I interview another amazing woman. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world, and bye for now. Thanks again for the interview.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into the Her Story Circle podcast. I hope today's story has inspired you to believe in the power of our stories and the difference you can make in the world when you use your voice. I'm Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a rich tapestry of diverse perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these stories with more listeners. Follow us on social media by looking for the Her Story Circle podcast for more updates. And join us tomorrow for another episode filled with courage, resilience, and empowerment. Remember, your story matters, and together we're building a stronger, more inclusive world. Until next time, keep making her story.